trucks that you see around you here were built for the Jurassic Park films. Some of them were used again recently for Land of the Lost. The mobile lab, which we see off the left side of the train here, that dangled off a cliff in the film, actually dangled off a parking structure in the front lot that we decorated to look like a cliff. Yeah, Steven Spielberg thought we'd have more control than if we went out to Costa Rica. Oh man! Whoa! I am so sorry about that, folks. We keep getting the exterminator on here to get rid of that, and he keeps getting exterminated. No dinosaurs were harmed in making this film. We faked them. We fake a lot of things. We faked weather, we turned to owl for help.
Hi everybody, here's today's forecast for the Universal Backlot. It's going to be sunny and dry in 6 Points, Texas. Cool and cloudy in Little Europe. Expect snow and sleet on New York Street, and we've got a high chance of fog and precipitation for Skull Island, Amity Island, and Isla Nublar. That's your forecast for today. Now here's a look at what's going on in your neck of the lot.
Yeah, we create our own rain here in Hollywood. We actually use those tall sprinkler systems. We shoot the water up and then it falls naturally. And we discovered that rain does not show up very well on camera. Oh, but please keep taking pictures. We add powdered milk to the water to make it show up better. The thunder comes courtesy of our sound effects department. The lighting is created using high intensity light fixtures. And if we get too much rain, we will get a flash of blood. We do recycle this water back to the drinking fountains in the park. Now you've seen our flash flood in action if you've seen Big Fat Liars starring Frankie Muniz and Amanda Bynes.
You can't outrun the wolf, kid!
You know, what do you got that? And of course, the fabulous Paul Giamatti calling sideways down the hill. This is our old Mexico area. It was featured in Paramount's Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And the Three Amigos is shot right here. Now we're going to leave old Mexico behind and we're going to head back to America. And we're there. Now travel's a lot faster here. This is our 6 Points, Texas. It was featured in All About Steve with Sandra Bullock. Also, Adam Sandler was here shooting scenes for bedtime stories. My friend Sebastian was actually featured in those scenes, and he has a new show on Animal Planet, folks. Check it out. It's called Pit Boss. If you like animals, you have to watch it. Now, this is 6 Points, Texas, and then actually, Whoopi Goldberg, our guest guide, shot scenes here from The Color Purple. So I'm going to hand things over one more time to her.
Did you know that more movies have been shot on these streets than any other spot in the world? Now, during the silent film era, they could shoot up to 6 movies at the same time, one on each one of these 6 streets. That's why it's called 6 Points, because each street had its own bank, its own sheriff's office, its own saloon, and its own hotel. Now, it turns out that this town ain't big enough for both of us. So get on back onto your tram, stagecoach thing and get the heck out of here. Go on, go on.
We'll go. I want you to look at the doorways on either side of the tram here, folks. Some of them are skinnier or shorter than you'd expect. Some of them are wider or taller than they normally would be. Well, they're built that way deliberately. You see, some of our cowboy heroes weren't quite as impressive as we would naturally like. Audie Murphy, for example, fabulous actor, 5 foot 5 inches tall. We take him, put him in front of one of those small doorways, and on camera, he appears larger than life. We take our heftier heroines, put them in front of the large doorways, and they miraculously appear smaller or more helpless than they really are. Yeah, in fact, for one film, Audie Murphy had to walk down the entire length of that street with his girlfriend. So they dug a trench the entire length of the street for the girl to walk in, so that she would be shorter than him. Yeah. Can you think of any modern actors who might need help like that? Tom Cruise? Look, one of my favorite buildings over here on our left. It's our underwater tank, this big funky round building. Let me see if I can put it up on screen for you so you can see it better. There we go. We'll fill our underwater tank with water, toss in a few actors, and then we shoot through the hatch or the catwalk on the outside of the tank. That way we can keep our cameras and our director dry while the actors do their underwater acting. Actually, if you're a fan of Seinfeld, do you remember when George Costanza fell in the East River? That's the East River. If we'd actually thrown Jason Alexander in the East River, we might never have gotten him back. Our underwater tank was also featured in Dragnet with the fabulous Tom Hanks.
I found the snake!
And on our right now, this little grassy area, believe it or not, that's all of New York Central Park. The camera, they say, adds 10 blocks. Yeah, actually, we'll just take, say, one of those park benches, stick it out in the middle of our grassy area here. Maybe we'll unplug that lamp there and plug in another tree. Then we'll hire background actors or extras to walk through the shot, make it look as populated as New York really is. And then we'll shoot a close-in scene with our 2 actors on the bench. We'll buy what's called stock footage of the real Central Park, and then we'll cut it all together. And you never knew that we were too cheap to actually fly all the way in our whole crew out to New York. We found it a lot more convenient to shoot locations here on our lot and just invent them than it is to go to the actual location, even when they're right next door. When we were shooting The Sting, our neighbors at the very, very, very expensive and prestigious golf course, Lakeside Country Club, offered us to use their golf course. You see, we wanted it to look like the bad guy was golfing on a very fancy course, and so they gave us a price that we could spend to shoot on their lot. It was an exorbitant price. Pissed off the director. So he took the camera, put it up on the hill there where you guys loaded on the tram. He took our actor, put him just on the edge of our property, took down the fence between our property and theirs, and then by shooting at such a long angle, totally looks like the actor is on their property playing golf. But we didn't actually have to pay them a cent. Ron Howard thought it would be more convenient and cost-effective to shoot right here rather than taking the entire crew to the moon. In Apollo 13, Tom Hanks' character walks across the moon. Well, Ron Howard came and covered this part of our lot with sand and dust and dirt and turned it into the surface of the moon. Now, our park lake here on the right, that's played any body of water you can name. Yeah, we use it a lot. In fact, for an episode of Crossing Jordan, it was the Brown River. They had an explosion on it, and the dead bodies were laid right here along the driveway that we're driving along right now. That was kind of fun. Tram couldn't go anywhere, but it's also played the entire Pacific Ocean. Yeah, for McHale's Navy, we covered our park lake there with toy boats, shot from a low angle. You never know the difference. When we had McHale's Navy, when we had the guys come into town, we'd actually park the full-size boat there against our dock across the way there. And they'd get out of the boat and walk off into 6 Points, Texas, which was their town. Now, miniatures are really helpful here in Hollywood. It's a lot easier to store a collection of toy boats than an entire naval fleet of ships. So, Peter Jackson used the concept of miniatures when he was creating King Kong. He created miniatures that were so amazing, he renamed them Bigatures, and he used thousands of them in creating Skull Island and all the places that... What are you looking at? Let's go. Whoa! Okay, that's one heck of a... Folks, there's no reverse on the tram, so this is where y'all have to help me out. Everyone ready to be miraculous? Okay, put your hands in the air. Unless you're holding a baby, and then don't. Okay, but everyone else, hands in the air. I can see you, front car. Okay, Jesse. Thank you. All right, now on the count of 3, folks, I want you to repeat after me. You're going to say, part the waters. You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Part the waters.
It must be working. We have dramatic music. If you have anything valuable on the floor, folks, you might want to pick it up. I like your style, Jesse. Now, as we drive through the Red Sea, off the left side of the tram, you're going to get a great view of a couple of the Bigatures from Peter Jackson's King Kong. We have here Skull Island and the SS Venture. Now, one of the challenges in shooting with miniatures is when you accidentally get real life-size objects caught in the shot. Real life-size objects, like for instance, a duck. Yeah. On the left side of the tram here now we have our property warehouse. A prop is anything that an actor might touch or hold on a set, making millions of them in there. Now that building is also known as the Edith Head building because the entire top floor is filled with costumes. And Edith Head was a very famous costumer here in Hollywood. Some fabulous costumes would fit very well in this part of our lot. This is our Square of Warriors. It was built in 1960 for Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus.
Was used again later for the Scorpion King starring The Rock, who has now changed his name back to Dwayne Johnson. Just in time to play the Tooth Fairy. If I were him, I would have kept the alias. And do I have fans of The Princess Diaries 2, A Royal Engagement? Give me your best princess wave. Don't be afraid, gentlemen. See, you got a good one. Nice one. We are driving along the parade route for that film. Gary Marshall came and turned these streets into Genovia. The film starred Anne Hathaway and Julie Andrews. That's for my bedazzled fans. Now these are our little European streets. They play any European city we need. They played Italy for Angels and Demons with Tom Hanks. They played the Spanish Isle of Tortuga for all 3 of the Pirates of the Caribbean series films from Disney. And they'll be back here shooting the 4th one. Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz were here shooting scenes from their upcoming film Night and Day. Chuck came and turned these into a Scandinavian city, and Heroes, having some geographical confusion, turned our little European streets into India. Now off the right side of the tram here, if you're a fan of monster movies, get a picture. Because this is where Frankenstein's monster appeared for the very first time on the big screen. And see right there where our beautiful fountain is? That's where we tortured the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Now, off the left side of the tram there, you see that driveway? That heads up into one of our suburban neighborhoods. We have 2 full suburban neighborhoods here at Universal. One of them has been taken over by a show called Desperate Housewives. Yeah, Wisteria Lane is permanent for them now, right? But up this driveway, this takes us to Elm Street. Elm Street was featured in the exteriors for Leave It to Beaver, also in a nightmare movie we're not going to talk about. But on my very first VIP tour, My tram was paused right here, and a large African-American actress came right down that hill to the side of my tram to say hi to us, and I was so excited. A celebrity sighting on my very first VIP tour. Oh, only I didn't know who she was. Yeah, and I looked at my guests, and none of them knew who she was. I turned to the driver. These guys know everyone. Didn't know who she was. So she's staring at us, we're staring at her. Finally, she opens her mouth and she says, "It's Eddie." It was Eddie Murphy. He was dressed up as the female character from Norbit, which was shooting up on Elm Street. We were in such shock, we stared at him for another like 10 seconds before he threw his hands up and walked away. No autographs, no pictures. It was amazing.